What's up, Moicano here, and today I'm going to do a reaction of the video of the MMA Guru saying Islam Makhachev is better than Khabib Nurmagomedov, and that is scary. I'm going to do the reaction because I don't have much to do since there is no UFC next week, and UFC Brazil is not that good card. So let's see how this video goes, and I'm going to give you my opinion. And Iago, the editor, say, don't say your opinion first, but man, Islam Makhachev is not better than Khabib. And that's why I want to see the points of MMA Guru.
I think that Islam Makhachev is better than Khabib Nurmagomedov, and I think he really proved it with that performance against Alexander Volkanovski, finishing Volkanovski in the first round with a head kick TKO. Whatever you want to say about back of the head shots, maybe I'll make a video on that tomorrow, but still, Volkanovski was done, okay?
I'm not even talking about the illegal back to the headshots. I don't think that's a problem. Nobody is talking about that, especially because it was a head kick, and all the props to Islam Makhachev. But let me tell you something. He did not prove he's best than Khabib just because he beat Volkanovski in that fashion. Remember, Volkanovski didn't have the time. Is his fault that he accept the fight? 100%. Volkanovski should not accept the fight, and that's going to hurt his legacy. Because last week, he was seen, for most of the people, one of the best ever, and now he got knocked out by Islam. Of course, that's going to scratch his image as his image being the best fighter in the world. But like I said before, especially because they fought already in a 5-round war, Volkanovski did great. So obvious the performance, and you could tell, brother. You could tell if you see the weigh-ins and if you see the fight night. Alexander Volkanovski was fat. That means he was not ready and he was not in full camp. 100%. He cut 30 pounds to be on that shape and was not a good shape. So you can tell that was not the best Alexander Volkanovski. So that point only I can tell. He didn't fought the best Volkanovski. So by logic, I don't think he proved that he's best than Khabib because of the performance, you know? To be sure about the performance, we should have been able to make Volkanovski training for a whole training camp, and if he did that to Volkanovski in a full training camp, that's one thing. But 10 days notice is not the same.
He got hit with that head kick, wobbling all over the place, and Makhachev TKO'd him in round 1. Now, I know it was a short notice Alexander Volkanovski, but
now he's talking about that.
It was Alexander Volkanovski that Makhachev TKO'd on the feet. Really, really impressive stuff. And I'm not just making...
It is impressive. I'm not saying it's not impressive, but if you look at their last fight, you can say that he would not do that so easily on the first round knockout against Volkanovski. So I don't think you can base your opinion on the last fight because it was 10-day notice, short notice.
In this video to send shots at Khabib. I'm not doing that whatsoever. Khabib is, as of right now, still on paper, the greatest lightweight of all time. If Oliveira would have beaten Makhachev, I think there would have been a conversation about that where people could say, well, Oliveira is now the greatest lightweight of all time.
Man, I don't like these two because a lot of people saying Charles Oliveira is the best of all time. I cannot see how Khabib is not the greatest of all time just because of the clean record and the way he dominates people. Man, he dominates Justin Gage. He dominated everybody that he fought. Khabib, the only fight that was competitive was against Gleison Tibau long time ago, before USADA, and Tibau is my friend, and he's strong. But let me tell you something. That was the only competitive fight that Khabib had in UFC. And Islam Makhachev got knocked out by Adriano Martins. So maybe Charles is the most entertaining fight, is the fight that people love most and people like most because of his style, his personality, and especially because his background. And I respect Charles a lot because of that, because I'm from Brazil and I know the kind of poverty that he went through and he overcome is unbelievable, brother. If you're not in Brazil, you cannot believe how poor some people are. And Charles Oliveira was really from the favelas, was really, really poor. Like, I mean, didn't have food to eat. So seeing him as a champion and how he became famous and popular, I'm very happy about that. But that being said, I don't think he is not even close to be the greatest of all times, you know, because he had couple losses and even before couple mid fighters, right? Of course, he lost to good guys too, but I don't know why people keep saying Charles could be one of the best, one of the greatest lightweight ever. Khabib is no doubt, especially because his record, he's 0 undefeated, so it's very tough to not name him the best ever.
But you didn't, because Makhachev beat Oliveira, and I picked Oliveira to beat Makhachev, and I was proven wrong by Makhachev when he
What did he say?
picked Oliveira to beat Makhachev.
Man, he picked Oliveira to beat Makhachev. Man, that would be. We did the video about the prediction video, and I thought Makhachev would beat Oliveira again because the style is very tough for Oliveira.
And I was proven wrong by Makhachev when he dropped Oliveira and then subbed him in round 2.
He's saying on the first.
Submitted Oliveira after dropping him on the feet.
Yeah, he's saying on the first fight. My English is trash, but I now I see what he's saying. But for the first fight, I predict Makhachev to win, and on the second fight too. And I think Guru did too, if I'm not mistaken.
Listen to what I'm saying to you guys right now. I know that Makhachev doesn't have as many title defenses as Khabib, but as of right now, he's only 1 away from tying Khabib. I mean, a lot of people put Khabib up there as, oh, he's the greatest of all time. He's up there with John Jones. No. Khabib had 3 title defenses and got his belt, by the way, by beating Ally.
He's saying that doesn't make sense because he's going to tie Khabib, but 2 was against the same guy, right? Alexander Volkanovski on a short day notice. And if he fights Charles against a guy that he fought, if he beat, if let's say it's Gage, Khabib beat Gage. Let's see how he beats Gage too, you know? So I think eventually Makhachev can be, let me tell you something. I think Khabib, he was afraid to lose. That's what I think, because he was still young, he was still competitive, but I don't blame him, because do you guys remember Jose Aldo? Jose Aldo, back in the day, people used to fear him, you know? People used to call him the greatest of all time and this and that. And after he lost to McGregor, he was done. You can say whatever you want, even though he beat me after that, and that's okay too. But he was not the same. You cannot say he was the same on the public eyes. People were just perceiving him differently. And I think that's why Khabib knows that. And Khabib knows if he loses after that, so that's why he just stopped. And let's be fair. He's still undefeated with very good performance in the UFC, especially the title defenses.
Quinter on a day's notice. Just putting that out there. I'm not sending shots at Khabib. I know that Lucas Tracy has made this video, but I was going to make it anyway. Okay, I've had this opinion since he proved me wrong against Oliveira. And I said I was going to make this video in streams recently as well. So I'm going to make the video, and I'm making the video regardless of who made it first. Because I strongly believe this, man. Makhachev is really good at what Khabib does, and then what Khabib didn't do. That's what Makhachev is good at.
I don't think he as good as Khabib. Look, he beat Bobby Green, Dan Hooker. Imagine what Khabib would do to Dan Hooker or Bobby Green. And I remember the Thiago Moises fight. After that, Davi Ramos, that was impressive. Davi Ramos was a very good grappler, but he was doing good on the feet. But of course, Makhachev was just waiting to shoot on the last second and just try to control. The Ahmad Sarukian was a very good fight, but was 2019. Ahmad Sarukian got the fight on a short day notice too. I think it was 1 week notice. Kajan Johnson, this guy sucks. Gleison Tibau, he was old after USADA. Nick Lentz, he lost to Adriano Martins. So if you see, the best name that he beat was Charles Oliveira and Makhachev and Volkanovski, of course. Remember, the first fight was very, very tough. The second one done a KO. Why I'm saying that? Because even against Thiago Moises is my friend. Thiago Moises is my friend, and that's very tough to say. But I think Khabib would beat Thiago Moises more decisively than Islam on the grappling department. Thiago Moises was doing very good against him on the. He even almost took his back. Islam back. So Khabib, you never seen Khabib in a position like that, like struggling to the clinch. He always shoot for double legs, put the guy on the cage and just control him. I don't think Islam Makhachev is near as good as Khabib on the grappling.
Okay? He's doing what Khabib does. He's able to out-grapple people that can't really grapple. We've seen that, okay? We've really seen that from Islam Makhachev.
The only really good grappler, that high-level grappler, wrestler that he fought was Armand Sarukian in a short day notice. It was his first fight in UFC. Other than that was Bobby Green, Dan Hooker, and Thiago Moises. Thiago Moises is a good jiu-jitsu guy, but sometimes he finds some trouble with the wrestling, like he did with Benoit Saint-Denis. Was the same thing, pressure and like power and pressure. He needs to work on that. So,
but he's also able to adjust and turn into a very capable striker against people that can really grapple. And for the long, as much as Khabib's career was good, his title reign was McGregor, Poirier, and Gaethje. And I know Gaethje has wicked takedown defense, but once that's gone, his jiu-jitsu is very laughable at best. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to roast Gaethje. His initial takedown defense is good. But once he hits the ground, there's not much there in terms of defense from Justin Gaethje. And that's why I picked Khabib. I think I picked Khabib to sub him at the end of round 1, which he nearly did until Gaethje was saved by the bell, by the way. But Makhachev is doing what Khabib can do to these strikers that don't want to be taken down and want to stay on the feet. He's doing what Khabib can do to them. We see him against Dan Hooker and Bobby Green. I know they had short notice fights, but still, he takes him down, destroys him in a round.
Yeah, but like I said before, even though Bobby Green has a good takedown defense, he's not a guy impossible to take down. If I remember, Thiago Moises took him down too in another couple of fights, even Francisco Trinaldo. But my point is, there was an easy fight for Islam, because it was a short day notice, and I think that's affect the fights a lot. People don't realize how much short notice is tough. I know because I have been in short notice fights, and if you're not training grappling, your cardio is not there, your technique is not there, striking is the same. Short day notice fights are very tough, and let's be honest, it's just for the money.
But he's also having these fights against...
But one thing I have to agree with him is the striker of Islam Makhachev is way, way better than Khabib. He is way better than Khabib. But I don't think he's going to be dominant as Khabib, because the way he take down is not like Khabib. You remember Khabib? Khabib used to shoot for takedowns immediately. He didn't take any chance, and I think Islam does take chance sometimes. And that's when he got caught. And after that, he changed a little bit his game, but nowadays he's being more on his feet.
Thiago Moises, I know not the best of names, but a guy with like a great grappling background. And these other guys that can grapple, Davey Ramos was, I think, an ADCC type guy. High level.
High level. But again, like I said before, Davi Ramos, he was not engaging with Davi Ramos. He did the same thing that Armand Sarukian did to Davi Ramos, because Davi Ramos was short. He only threw hooks, not crosses, because he's short, And one time he even got, if I'm not mistaken, got Islam on trouble. But again, Islam and Makhachev and Sarukian was doing the same thing, just like playing the feet, 1 minute, 30 seconds, shoots for takedown and rub the round.
Jiu-jitsu dude. He ends
Steal
up
the round.
catching him with a knee in the third round and beating him up in the third to get a 10-8 round nearly in that third round. He's just really good compared to Khabib at the alternative options. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, Khabib didn't need an alternative option. He didn't need that whatsoever because he was so good at grappling and so much better at Makhachev than grappling.
I think he's better than
grappling.
Makhachev at grappling.
I don't know. I don't know if you can say that. Because when Khabib's career comes to an end, he fought, in terms of top-level competition that he fought, really, when he came into his prime, Edson Barboza.
So let me tell you about that. Ask yourself, if Khabib on his prime fought Volkanovski, that's a simple question. If Khabib on his prime fought Volkanovski on the first fight, do you think will be the same as Islam on the first fight? I'm not saying Khabib would knock him out, but I'm pretty sure he would dominate every round.
You know, Michael Johnson. I've seen Michael Johnson out-grappled in moments by Clay Guida.
Michael Johnson is the same thing of Bobby Green. Almost the same.
You know what I'm saying? Edson Barboza, Michael Johnson. Fair enough, Ally Quinta, but it was on a day's notice. And look how difficult that fight ended up being for him, by the way. And I know people say he
one day
wanted to
notice
go 5
for
rounds.
both.
He didn't want to go 5 rounds.
No, he didn't want to go 5 rounds. And I fought that night. And I remember they were offering everybody. They were offering Paul Felder. They offering $1 million to... I fought Calvin Qatar that night. What the name of the guy? Anthony Pettis. They offered $1 million, I think, and he didn't want to do. I think Quinta did for 200,000 or something like that. People were talking about. I say, hey, I can fight. I can fight for this. But the word was to Anthony Pettis refused $1 million. But again, was not only for Khabib, was for Quinta too. And remember, Quinta was always a solid wrestler. He was not the best striker, but he was always a solid wrestler.
If he could get out there nice and early, he would have got out there nice and early. And you know that against Ally Quinta. Did he want to test out some stand-up at the end, get some stand-up going because he felt confident and Ally Quinta was a mess on the feet after taking damage in the early rounds? Maybe. But if he could have got that done in the first or second, he would have got it done in the first or second. And then after that, he fought McGregor, Poirier, Gaethje. 3 guys that want to keep it standing, have good takedown defense against others, but against pure grapplers, seem to struggle quite a bit. And Gaethje really struggled as soon as the fight hit the ground, even though he does have good initial takedown defense. Which is why I want to see Makhachev fight Gaethje, who I now believe is a massively improved version of Gaethje. That will really cement Makhachev, in my opinion.
Depending on how...
Khabib, and as probably the greatest lightweight of all time. If Khabib's the alternative, he'll have matched Khabib's record, and I think he would have done it against better opponents.
He's not going to match Khabib's record because, like I say, even though he has 2 title defenses, one was very controversial against a guy that is a featherweight, and the second one wasn't 12-day notice, 10-day notice, and that counts.
Makhachev is fighting people that are sort of designed to beat him. You know what I mean? Volk, short, stocky, spends 0 time on bottom position. Great takedown defense. Knows how to work his way back up to his feet. Has a sort of like Derek Lewis-ish ability, but in the lower weight classes, which is even crazier, of the mentality of just get back up type situation. You know what I mean? Where he can just stand up out of bottom position because he's that short and stocky.
Volk is a tough fight for anybody.
Remember, he was a national champ in Australia in wrestling before he even devoted his life to MMA. Very important to note. Oliveira, dangerous knockout artist on the feet, submission artist on the ground, off of his back as well. Great off of his back, great offensive jiu-jitsu as well, has the takedown threat of his own. Makhachev is fighting people that are like good everywhere. Khabib was fighting people that are good in one position of a fight.
Again, remember, I will use the same question. What do you think would happen if Khabib fight Charles Oliveira? Do you think Charles Oliveira will win the fight? Very tough to say that he would.
And when he didn't fight those people, he really struggled. You know what I mean? Whereas Makhachev, at the end of the day, drops Oliveira in round 2, subs him. I know he was dropped and concussed.
He's a better striker than Islam.
Still, drops Oliveira in round 2 and subs him. Light work for Makhachev. Didn't take any damage in that fight whatsoever. Volkanovski.
Do you think Khabib would take any damage on Oliveira? I don't think so, because if you look, even Beneil Dariush took Charles Oliveira down, and even though Charles Oliveira knocked him out, I think the grappling of Khabib would pose much more trouble than Beneil Dariush for Charles, in the meaning that probably he would have kept the raw hound Charles on the ground, and maybe on the second round take down again. Don't get me wrong, Charles is very explosive, Charles is very dangerous to fight, but I still think Khabib would have won the fight.
Bad style matchup, by the way. He goes to Australia, dehydrates himself massive, doesn't rehydrate well because of the different rules that are over there, doesn't look all that good in the fight, and this is why I picked Makhachev by TKO in this fight with Volkanovski. And still goes out there, and I don't want to talk about him winning against Volkanovski. I want to talk about how he won against maybe the best Volkanovski we're going to see from here on out, seeing as that KO loss was pretty bad. He was going well on the feet with Volk. I said this, you guys are underestimating how many times he wobbled Volk in that first fight they had. He rocked him in round 1. Badly. Sat him down to a knee. Threw a head kick up there that landed. Started charging forward and landing shots. Clipped Volk in round 2 at the end of round 2 as well. Hurt him. Volk wobbled backwards
so
in that
did
round
Volk
as well.
With him in
Islam
round 50.
Makhachev is doing things against fighters that are taking away his plan A, and he's doing well at plan B. We never had to see Khabib do that, really, other than against Ali Quinter and some guys way earlier in his career, because he never had to sort of face a guy that really could challenge him in the area that he was good at. You know what I mean? As much as people praise Khabib for his record and stuff, I'm going to go to Khabib's record right now on Tapology. He had a weird rise to the top, Khabib Nurmagomedov, because he I know he fought RDA, and he went to a decision with him, which was impressive. He got some judo throws on him and tripped him and kept control time in moments. But the problem I have with Khabib is he rose to the top against like an older generation of top lightweight, and he sort of returned against a different generation of lightweight. You know what I mean? So he got to the top of the mountain by beating RDA, and he sort of sat out for 2 years, and then a new one came up. So he sort of like inauthentically rose up to the top of the division. I know you can say the same about Makhachev a little bit, but I think it's a little bit different in Makhachev's case. So when you really look at Khabib's record, you see Gaethje, striker, doesn't want to be taken down. Poirier, striker, doesn't want to be taken down. McGregor, striker who doesn't want to be taken down, who, by the way, took Khabib to the 4th round. Stuffed the takedowns in round 1, or didn't stuff him, but kept Khabib from doing what he wanted in round 1. Had a bad round 2. Won round 3, by the way, and then lost in round 4. Ali Quinter he took to a decision. Barboza he took to a decision. What I'm saying is, although these were beatdowns from Khabib, and he smashed these guys, brother, I get it. If Makhachev is on top of Barboza on the ground, I give it a couple of minutes before Barboza's tapping.
Maybe. You have a point over that, like you saying, Islam is better to finish fights than Khabib, but that doesn't take the better grappling, because I think if Khabib fought Islam, and that's the question, he would beat Islam. I'm pretty sure Khabib would have beat Islam.
I really do. And that's something that I think
actually, that's the only question that you have to ask. Would Khabib on his prime beat Islam on his prime? And I think the answer is yes.
Mentioned here. Even prime
and
Barboza,
they know on the training.
Ends up on top of him. It's not going to a decision, in my opinion, if he's consistently taken down Edson Barboza. Now, is that because Khabib got off on beating up opponents and making them look terrible by punching them up on the ground and stuff? Maybe. But I think we just need to look at the results and what would happen if Makhachev was on top of Barboza. You know what I mean? First of all, Makhachev's on the back foot, throwing head kicks. You know what I mean? Drilling kicks to the legs, to the body. moving around well, showing good striking defense. I know he got chinned by Adriano Martins, but that was a very early moment in his career. And he got exposed for charging forward. Maybe Khabib is tougher than Makhachev and has a better chin. But when it comes to an MMA fighter that I can trust to beat more different styles of opponents, I would go with Makhachev over Khabib. I know Khabib was dominant. I know he did his thing. But at the end of the day, the lightweight division has just gotten so much better recently. And I'm about to read you guys some wins that Khabib got on his way to a title shot. Okay? Edson Barboza, Michael Johnson, Darrell Horcher, Rafael Dos Anjos, Pat Healy, Abel Trujillo, Thiago Tavares, Gleason Tebow, Kamal Sharolos was another guy that he fought in his debut. Now, if you go to the
Good
career
wrestler.
of Islam Makhachev instead, which I'm hoping I can find quite quickly, some of the names that he beat on the way up are really underrated names when you look back at them. Okay? Even though we didn't know it yet, we now kind of know it. Bobby Green. I know it was short notice, but he dominated him, finished him in a round. I could see Khabib taking Bobby Green to a third round, beating him up, walking him down, trying to walk him down, getting takedowns, and trying to beat him up on ground and pound. I could see that. Dan Hooker, immediate submission in round one. After we just saw Dan Hooker with a broken arm beat Jalen Turner, by the way. Thiago Moises, underrated contender in terms of the threat that he poses Makhachev. Makhachev adjusts, eases into the fight a bit more, clinch knees in the clinch, up against the cage, gets the rear naked choke in round 4. Drew Dober easily dismantles Drew Dober with the grappling, eventually subs him in the third after failing an armbar in the first round. Davey Ramos, kind of a nightmare matchup, is able to beat him. Armand Sarukian, kind of a nightmare matchup in terms of grappling defense, right?
That was
is able to adjust
short
and
notice
beat him.
too.
These are good wins.
I think the
KO'd Gleason Tebow. I
I
know an older version of Gleason Tebow,
Yeah.
but still.
old version of
KO'd
Gleason
him.
Tebow. Yeah, so if
Chris
you see
Wade is pretty good at wrestling.
the
Is able to
the
beat
records
him.
are
And a new
almost the
version of
same if you look.
Makhachev, who's at the top right now, has beaten Oliveira and Volkanovski twice. Even though the second one was on short notice, I think time will prove me right on this take. I think Makhachev will probably beat Gaethje, and we'll start having a serious conversation
Probably.
to say he's better than Khabib. I know a lot of people are
Yeah, maybe when he beats Gaethje, but you cannot say that now that he just beat twice the same guy from the featherweight division in Charles. That is, I don't think is a very the game, the style doesn't match. And even if he beats Gaethje, Khabib finishes him too. So you were talking about how Khabib doesn't finish fights, but he finished Gaethje. And I think that's the question that you have to make. If Khabib and Islam fight, who had won? And I'm pretty sure they know. And I'm pretty sure it's Khabib.
saying, I've seen interviews of Javier Mendez saying things like, oh, you know, I watched a lot of sparring and Khabib, you know, gets the better of it. Different Makhachev now, man. He's in his...
You see, now he's saying about the training camp. I'm pretty sure they know. You know, they know. And of course, you cannot compare to now Khabib. Now, if you see Khabib, now he's fat. But I'm saying the Khabib that were fighting for the belts, and man, he is a lot. He's a different animal on the grappling. Khabib is very, very good. I think he's way more dominant than Islam. I think his endurance and cardio is better than Islam. We saw how he struggled against Volkanovski on the 50th round, on the 4th round, you know, against a featherweight. I think Khabib would have dominate Volkanovski from the round 1 to round 50.
prime. He's so obviously in his prime right now. He's moving well on the feet. He barely gets hit. I think he
But
has
he's
some of the
better
highest
striker.
striking
He's a
defense
better
in
striker
the history
than
of the
Khabib for
lightweight
sure.
division. And I know Khabib took people down and beat them, but Makhachev just seems like if you can stuff his takedowns, there's a whole other problem that you have to worry about.
But that's the
Whereas
problem.
Khabib,
Nobody did.
It's like as soon as someone can stuff his takedown, there's going to be some problems. Look how
Nobody
terrible his
stuffed
stand-up
takedowns.
looks.
That's the problem.
Look how awful he looks on the feet. Makhachev's throwing body.
And sometimes it's the problem, my brother, because Khabib was so good on the grappling, he didn't take any chance on the strike. Islam Makhachev, for the other reasons, he's very good at striking and very good at grappling. He's for sure more well-rounded, but that make holes on his game. Because if he try to strike against a striker, he can get caught
Body kicks.
like he did.
He's feinting well. He's stepping in on Volk and cutting him open with an elbow on the feet. It's just different skill. Is playing on the feet with him. And that's the point of this video today. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I think if Makhachev fights Gaethje next, which I would love to see, by the way, because we've already seen him beat Oliveira and we've already seen him beat Volk.
I agree.
And I think this would be a really
He needs to fight Gaethje, yeah.
For him to become a world, like a tied record holder for lightweight title defenses. You know what I mean?
Again, if he beat Gaethje, it's like
Whereas
I say.
Makhachev, I'd love to see him.
Like I say, I don't agree with that. I still think Khabib, only if you look for the record 29-0, that's a great record. And the build up of them, I think RDA back in the day was better, especially because he was a former champion too. At that time, he was not even champion, but Khabib on his way up beat RDA. And the best name that Islam beat was Tsarukian, and I think Khabib would have dominated Tsarukian. And I think if Khabib fights Islam, he would beat Islam, you know, on his prime. That was the video for today. Like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for the audience. Us.